Hello again, everybody. Harry Boxer, the Technical Trader at TheTechTrader.com. Happy New Year. It's January 4th. This is the weekend webinar, first for this year, 2025. And it comes at an opportune moment, in my opinion. The markets are at a critical junction, in my opinion. When you see the pattern on the S&P, it does appear to be a left shoulder, a rounding type top or head, and a right shoulder. So either this pattern becomes a head and shoulders and we go down, or the juxtaposition of these two trend lines meet up here, and the market may take itself up towards 6,300 if it gets to 61, of course, all to be determined. Just looking at this, at the technicals and the indicators, there's no clear definition yet, but I'll tell you right now that if we get under 58.2930, we could come down and come down hard potentially. Remains to be seen. Here's the NASDAQ 100. Different pattern. You can see it's more of a falling wedge, three-wave corrective, and a bounce off the 50. There's a trend line here that I believe is going to be key. And last week's low of 20,800, if violated, could lead to lower levels, 20,350, and even 19,800 to 2,000 for starters. But on an upside, a breakout above the shoulder line or above that rally back over 21.8. could get us rolling back up towards 22.8, something like that. But the thing I'm concerned about is the reaction for the small cap and transportation index. You can see there was very little bounce. We basically came down, rolled over hard on the IWM from 245 hard to 218 in a couple, 3 weeks, and then bounced, forming a wedge. That is a bear wedge, my friends, and until it breaks up to convince me otherwise, it could conceivably result in a breakdown under 215 and a drop into the 205 area. That would be pretty negative, but we'll see what occurs. A breakout on the upside, of course, resistance is 230, 237, and up towards the high of 244. Another big concern is the transportation index that looks the same as the utilities with a hard drop, taking the trannies to from a new all-time high, 17,845, plunging it to 15,677, more than 2,200 points. And now that's all the bulls have. If that's the case, we come down to 15.3, 14.8, and below. But we'll see. This is a key level. If we do get a bounce, it's got to get back above 16.3 in that area. So stay tuned. Excuse me. When we look at the indices, there's the divergence between the Dow, the transportation, and the IWM, which is a small cap, versus the better looking charts on NASDAQ 100 and the S&P 500, which appears to be more of a topping pattern, but we can't tell until it breaks. Head and shoulders are not head and shoulders until the neckline breaks. So that level that I mentioned, 59, 25, 30, important point to watch next week. Underlying technicals look like this. The McClellan oscillator, which had gotten dramatically lower, the lowest level we saw in months, down to 220, resulting in a snapback rally, which we got, has taken it from minus 220 to plus 52 before settling back to 28. Still, it's in the plus territory. Doesn't get oversold until it gets up about 130.50 range at a very least. So we may get an extension on Friday's bounce. We'll see. Percentage of stocks above their 40. It didn't bounce much because it's most of those stocks which plunged. At one point, got down to only 1 out of 6 stocks, 15% above the 40. Now it's 1 out of 5, 1 out of 4, but still no great shakes. And of course, the VIX showing fear. The volatility index had that spike all the way up to 28, and then came down hard to 14 before bouncing around. But you can see, not telling us anything in particular. Extreme fear up here, and extreme apathy down in that range, around 8 to 10. All right, let's take a look at the NASDAQ 100 generals. That tells me a lot. Apple is the weak sister. Lots of negative reports out on it, although there was a recent upgrade. Didn't help much. The stock is down every day last week and then some. It has dropped from an all-time record high of 260 plus to quickly get back down to 242, 18 points in a week. So we're on support or near it. I think the key level is going to be 239 and the trend line comes in around 236. 236.39 major support, and if broken could lead not only to Apple cracking, but a much deeper impact on the market. Amazon, actually in a nice wedge pattern, needed to break out. If it does, 250 roughly, give or take 2 points, is my target. I just don't want to see a move under 215.16. That could create havoc and create a much deeper retrace. We have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves up, so this becomes less reliable. And it wouldn't shock me if the market went the other way, but I am looking for follow through. If Amazon does follow through, possibly, like I said, 250, give or take. Google, and the beautiful inverse head and shoulders here, left shoulder, head, right shoulder, broke out, retested, trend line and moving average, and then spiked. This is basically a 1, 2, 3, 4. A beautiful wedge near the apex as well on Google tells me that if this pops, you might see this run up towards 210. If it drops under, I'm going to have to say about 184.5. That won't be good for the market, in my opinion. We'll see what happens. NVIDIA, nice recovery, and this is an actual breakout, folks. After looking like a head and shoulder top, the neckline, the shoulder line broke as the trend line held. It's the trend line going way back. Held right there. We broke back out. V bottom, platform breakout. NVIDIA has to get through 146.5, and they were looking at retesting the all-time high at 152.89 post reverse split. Look at this chart. Okay, and now we're looking at Netflix, which until this week was looking phenomenal, but it broke. The key support would be right here, right about 860, give or take a couple points. And you can see after the big run it had, literally from the August low, when it was trading around 600, to make it up to 950, monster move. But I'd have to say, taking this out and this out for now, that would be a bull coil of sorts, right there. Again, along with Google wedging, Netflix coiling, and a few other stuff, Amazon, etc., setting up, if there's a possibility this market can really blow out for a few days anyway. But we'll see what happens. And Meta, obviously, still a bullish configuration, but the breakdown and the bounce along the moving averages requires a break back out above 610. We get that. We could go back to 638 and maybe even get a new high. For now, though, I think the key is we cannot let this one go below 580 without notice. That would hurt the market. And finally, Tesla, obviously with a fantastic move from October when it spiked up off of 212 and ran hard to 488. I mean, 150% move in a couple months on Tesla with the TSLL tracking stock that we follow only going from 8.5 to 40. How about that for a 5-fold move in 60 days? So obviously pullback was not uncalled for. You can see that the TSLL trying to hold support, a steep pullback to 23 from a high of 41.5. Now actual Tesla stock has support at last week's low at 373. And then we have lateral price support and moving average at about 353. So 373 and 53 going forward are key support. Now we're also looking at ETFs and other groups. The main semiconductor group that I follow, SMH, is in a monster 90-day bull coil. Now it did move up Thursday and Friday. Friday was a special day for it, up 769 at 3.14%. Big move. If we get a follow through, we're looking at a test of a double top at 361.2 zone. Through that, we're good to go. Financials, not so much. After a big 5-way move up, it came down pretty hard in about 3.5 weeks from 185 to 143. It's a big 42-point loss, and then bounce only got to resistance before backing off. If this is in fact a bear flag of sorts or bear wedge and it doesn't break back out, then we're going to see this going down to 135. Be very careful. That's a trend break. Not on a long-term trend, though. I want to show you something. You connect this and this. You'll see we're not that far from the bottom of the channel. That zone between 135 and 142 is a big, big support zone. A break of that, and things change quickly for financials and bank stocks. And finally, the LABU, which doesn't look much better, is in a 1, 2, 3, 4 wave 4 bear wedge or flag or whatever you want to call it, in my opinion. Now, sometimes we'll see a 3-wave corrective, and this will go out for a bit more and then base out and run out. But for me, careful here, very careful on biotechs. They're just not acting well. And if they start of every bear market, biotechs are the first to go, I think, because of the lack of earnings behind a lot of them. Big promise, but big risk, big reward. This one's you got to be careful with. All right, that brings us to gold and silver. The GDX obviously snapped back last week. So did Nugget. And following these two in particular, right back to resistance. Doesn't mean anything to me. It doesn't. The underlying technicals and volume just weren't great. They weren't. So for me, it's a 1, 2, 3, and this is maybe wave 4 for me. I don't think gold is done on the downside, but I could be wrong. If the market cracks, money may flow into it. We'll see. Silver, AGQ, and SLV look the same. 3-wave corrected falling wedges on the SLV and AGQ. Not looking particularly good. Trendline breaks on both. Not happy with that. Now oil, we got now gas. Oil, which was looking like fantastic, at a breakaway gap, immediately reversed and came down. On the opposite side is KOLD, which spiked down to the bottom of the channel and lateral price support. I'm not surprised it bounced. It's filled the gap and bounced to that resistance level. We'll have to see what this does, but that's a breakaway move on Friday on big pickup in volume. I'm just not enamored with either of these two yet. That concludes gold, silver, and gas, but how about USO and the oil sector? Breakout on oil, look at that. Across the declining top sign, across lateral price resistance with a breakaway gap. The next big target is 79 3/4. You get through that, then you look at an 823 range, but remains to be seen. So that covers the ETS that we'd like to follow, and let's go into the charts because we have a lot to cover. Let's always start with AAOI. You can see the channel is still intact, I should say, hasn't been broken. Kind of wedging in here. This entire pattern could be a setup for another wave up. If it is, we're headed, folks, to 70. I'm not kidding. This could be big. First, we got to get to 44.5 and then 49.50. Those are two shorter term resistance levels. But if this continues, yeah. If it doesn't and rolls over, the takeout of 31 would be negatory. Archer and a lot of the little junior aerospace companies have done very well of late. This one's gone literally from 3 to 12, quadrupled. High being 11.89 almost, and then pull back to test and bounce sharply on Friday. Its sister stock that we follow closely is Joby. Joby had an even better move, and they broke out on Friday. I'm not looking for Joby to go to 12, quite frankly. Keep a stop on a 7 3/4. Target 13 and 15.5, 16 on ACHR. AFRM, showing you this one because after a beautiful run up here and a long pullback, it broke out in September and did a 1, 2, 3. This is wave 4. Fifth wave could take you to 80 or even 95, 98. Now, though, wait for a breakout and let's see what happens with this one. I will say this: stop under 58. AI, one of my top picks for the year, broke out on Friday, or appears to have. We'll see if that it works or not. I implore everybody to maintain stops under 33. That's a significant level. 32.5, 33. And if it does go, I'm looking for a retest of 39.40 and then mid 40s. We'll see if that works and where it goes beyond that. ALAB, this Semiconductor stock based out in August, September, broke out in October, and just kept stair-stepping its way up with consolidation patterns. Channel top targets in the 175 range plus. ALGS breaks out of a base, spikes, wedges, and runs. Strong rising channel, uninterrupted, with a target at 55. AMPS coming out of a base, it appears. Keep an eye on it. Good technicals, and if it does break a move here, your next target is 5.5. AMPX breaks out of a base, consolidates in a three-wave corrective, holds the trend line and moving average and lateral price support from the breakout point, and then pops from 165 and doubles to 339. There is resistance right about there. You get through that, $6 your target. ARQQ powerful move off the lows in October when it was under 4, made it up into the 50s, believe it or not, for a 12-fold increase. Now consolidating in a wedge, and it doesn't look done, quite frankly. I don't know how far they can take this, but the angle of ascent calls for a move that takes us into the mid-70s, lower mid-80s. Wow. ARQT coming out of a base, they're stepping its way higher, consolidating, resistance 15.75, targeting 18. AS, American Sports, I've talked about this for weeks now. After breaking out and flagging, it popped again and consolidated and just keep going. Not sure how far they can take this, but my projection is mid-30s. ATLG with a spike coil, pop falling wedge, and then another one. Beautiful formations along the way in a rising channel. I got to give you a target at 30. That's a double, folks. Atamura, one of our best swings of the year, popped, wedged, and when it broke out, we gave you a swing. It went from, I think it was under 4 into the 16, I said hit 17 on Friday, so more than quadrupled, and maybe long in the tooth. But this stock traded into the 40s back in 21, so there's still always that possibility, and it has higher levels. I would be careful with this one at this level. AUR, rising channel and then an accelerating channel. Pulled back to test support and bounce Friday. What I'm looking for is if it holds this week's low, if it holds 6, the target's 9. AVXL, and this biotech came out of a long downtrend, long one. Pop coil, pop wedge, and then another spike retest. Looks awfully good and doesn't look done. Maybe 14.5 and 16 targets. BBAI, tech trader swing, popped, broke out, extended, and then backed off to retest here. So far, so good. But targets remain 6 and 7. BE broke out of a long base with a major breakaway gap and just kept running. Orderly pullback tells me it isn't done yet on the upside. My target's 29.32. Dutch Brothers, but a spike breakaway and a rising channel. It is at the channel top, so there may be some pullback, but my extension target is 65. How about BTDR, Bitcoin related? Inverse head and shoulders here, breakout, rising channel, and a sharp one. Friday was a nice spike of 295 or 13%. If it gets through here, 30 and 35 are targets. BYRN tech trader swing broke out. We put a swing on it and ran up a bit and pulled back, formed a wedge and then popped, and formed another wedge and popped. And now it's flagging. It looks excellent. The channel top, I think, is a little bit higher. Yeah, it looks like about 39.40, folks. This could be big. CAPR exploded in August, September, October from 3.5 into the 23.5 range, and then came from the coil but broke down. My stop on this one with folks was under 18. Under 17, 16.75. It got all the way down to 12 and change, I believe, below the 12.25, right? And it snapped back 3 points subsequently, but it has not broken back out again. Still like the overall look, but I don't like the way it needs resistance. It's got to break out. CCL, this cruise line after a triple top breakout here, just kept going. Now the pullback. On support, targeting 27 and 30, but it needs to hold here. Cognite software in a fantastic 2-year rising channel, broke out to new highs and then pulled back and then popped on Friday. It's the kind of stock that I think could go if the market heats up. My target is going to be 10 and 11. Sienna long-term chart shows a massive breakout to new 22-year highs. That's right, 22 years. So you can see that right now after popping through that, it's got a beautiful bull coil. It's the kind of stock that can go vertical to near 100. CLBT, also beautiful rising channel over the last couple of years, taking it from 3 and change into the low 20s. Doesn't look done though, does it? 24 target. CLPT breaks out of a base, goes vertical, backs and fills in a base pattern that lasted 4 months, broke out again, now wedging again. Very bullish chart. If the angle holds, it might very well be mid-20s stock, maybe high 20s. CMRX. Look at that breakaway gap, folks. It's massive. And with a rising flag, if it breaks out here, it can go vertical again. 5 and 7 are my targets in CMRX. CORZ. Strong run earlier in the year and then a nice rising channel. Currently in a falling flag type pattern, but about to break out, it appears. If it does, targeting 19 and 22.5. CRNC, maybe the star of the week for sure. When this thing popped last month, we put a swing on it in the 4s. On Thursday, it was trading at 790, and on Friday, it exploded from 8 to 1989. It finished 1940. May not be done. This is huge. 173 million shares on a deal with NVDA. There may be some follow through into the low to mid 20s. CRNT, I've been liking this stock for a long time. We made some good money with it back in here, back in 2020. You can see the base to break out the 1, 2, 3 wave corrective consolidation. This is a falling flag. There's your breakaway. Above the moving averages, backed and filled for a couple of days and then ran hard. Right now, it looks to me like if it breaks out of here, we're going to 6 and 7. Crocs, that's in the bear side. CXW and Geo, 2 prison management firms that both gapped on election day because Trump favors privatization of prison management groups. So you can see that beautiful coil and this one for Geo, a rising coil, both look like they could explode again to the upside. Targets on CXW, mid 20s, high 20s. DXYZ exploded, rising wedge, popped, another wedge. I'm looking for a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th wave that takes me to triple digits, folks. Very possible. First, let's retest the 75 and 77 zone, and then I'm looking for 95 to 100. Obviously, don't want to see it underneath. 51 would be my stop. ELDN broke out of a coil on Friday in a long-term uptrend. It might very well extend 6.5, 7.25 targets. EOSC popped in June, pulled back, and then starts up its way up in a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move. Long in the tooth, indeed, near resistance. Yes, careful up here. Now, long term, if it breaks out of here, it could be significant. But for now, maybe some big resistance up there. We gave you a swing on ERJ back several months ago. I think it was in the 24.5 range. It made it up to 40 some odd. It still looks good. Stop is under 34 3/4. The targets are 40 and 44. FCEL, V bottom right hand extended. Looks like a base after a long decline and a reverse split as well. So what I'm looking for is if you can get up to and through 1370, your target is 617. FEIM, a tech trader swing when it popped and pulled back, but then it took a few months to coil before it actually broke out. But it did go from 12 to 20. It's backed and filled in here. I still think it's got a possibility because it's so thin of running into the mid-20s. Flex, also a tech trader swing, broke out, pulled back, popped. It's got bullish configurations in my mind, rising channel, moving averages, and if it gets up through 37 3/4, if it gets up through 40, which it's right at, it could extend first to retest the high at 43 and then maybe 45.6. Fastly popped, broke out, we put a swing on it, it went to the target and then reversed. But the falling wedge on lower volume has me thinking it's at an entry opportunity here. It's a 1-2. If 3 comes, we should see a retest of 12. We may get it up to 14, maybe 15. FTI, long-term, beautiful rising channel and trend that's taken it from 5-6 range into the 30s. The angle of ascent tells me it isn't done yet. My target's 37. GDS swing trade, I believe, right about there in July when I was trading 10 or 11. It's doubled to 24 and now consolidating. I like to look for a pop, 28 and 35 targets. GEO we mentioned earlier, that could extend to 35. And GRRR, one of our better swings, popped out. We put a swing on it. It pulled back for just a couple, 3 weeks, and then went vertical, almost 371 to 25.67, folks. About a 7-fold increase, and it doesn't look done yet. We break through these multiple tops, we're headed to 30. Good. Long-term uptrend after breaking out of a base. Sharp retest in August with most of the tech stocks, and then bang zoom. 13.5 to mid 40s. Actually tagged 43.83. Now consolidating. Target 46 and 50. HSAI, beautiful base, spike breakout, wedge pop, another wedge pop, and then a pullback, but now a steady move up and a nice pop on Thursday. I'm thinking the possibilities are 20 and 24. HWM, one of the better looking charts on Wall Street, quite frankly. In the last year and change, it's gone from 43 and tripled to 120 and still in a rising channel, but it is at support. It needs to hold here next target, 135.38. INOD popped out here, ran sharply, wedge. This is a 1-2. This is a 3 with a breakaway gap and a 4 coil. Fifth wave, 68.70. INTZ goes vertical with the 2 gaps, gap here, gap there, and then a pullback, trying to fill at least 1 gap. If it backs and fills without coming down and breaks out above Friday's high, above 520, this can scoot. Target 7.5, 9.75. IONQ, powerhouse move. You can see how great it looked in 2023. Then it came down hard from 20 down into the 6 range. The breakout occurred in mid-October there when it popped through resistance at about 11, and it's gone into the quadruple to 48. It doesn't look done. Stop is under 35.6, and that's a low, excuse me. Stop under Thursday's low, 38. But a move above 48.5 could get you into the 60s, folks. Very powerful chart. We talked about Joby earlier with Archer. KC, a Chinese cloud company. What a move this has had. From the beginning of November at 2 3/4, stock has gone to almost 13. And it doesn't look done yet, quite frankly. I'm looking at the possibility that we make this into the high teens. KIT exploded, pulled back for 3 days, and then went bonkers on Friday. The robotics group is really heated up. This one went 151 to 539 in a day on Friday, 114 million shares traded. It's at resistance, so it may fall here, but if it does follow through, you might get a move towards 9. No kidding. Cooler. Pop coil, pop wedge. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave is 9 or 10. Good triple. LAES, another semiconductor with a breakaway gap, rising channel. It's a 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth wave. I'm telling you, we're going to look at $20, maybe a double or more from here. LFVN breaks out of a base and just keeps channeling up. Extension target 23.4. LITE broke out here. I put a swing on it. It pulled back to test and then went crazy. 48 to 96, doubling. And for me, one more leg up, it gets us to 110. Light path. Look at this long base. I'm going to go back further. Watch this. 22-year base. Now, if you look at just the short-term base, it broke out of that and spiked. This literally has gone from $1.35 to 4 and change in a month, 5 weeks, and with heavy volume. Doesn't look done yet, quite frankly. I'm not going to be shocked to see this one make a run towards 5.5 and even 7. Layered Superfoods, one of my favorites this year with a pop falling wedge, pennant, coil, flag. I mean, it acts like that. And it's doing another one with a coil here. My target is 12 and 18. Light bridge breaks out of a base, goes vertical, hard falling wedge right to the breakout point, spike up on Friday. Keep an eye on this one. If it extends, I'm looking at 8, 9, and 10. Lunar, one of my favorite stocks this year as well, popped out, wedged, and broke out. We put a swing on it, coiled, popped, wedged, run. It's literally gone from 6 to 22. One of my better swings this year as well. Unbroken out, this long base pattern to extend to a level which here has just been reached, it appears, right? So this could go higher. I'm not going to be shocked to see this make a bigger move. Great chart, great technicals. LX breaks out of a base, wedges, pops, and now it's flagging. Doesn't look done to me either. I think that maybe the next target would be quick run to 7. MBLY, tech trader swing when it broke out, has broken out again. Friday was a big day for it, jumping 184, about 9%. Pick up the volume to 8.5 million. My target is 25. Mesoblast, spiked, based out for months, popped out, retested, popped again, and formed a coil, and then went vertical, literally. Well, 10 to 22 with a target of 24 and above. MGNI Magnite, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or is it? This looks like a 1, 2 of 5. If we get 3, 4, and 5, we may see low 20s. MIND, breakaway gap coming out of a long downtrend, big volume, and vertically north. Now, it is settled in here a little bit. It's got to hold it. And you can see, though, it's above everything, with targets now potentially. For me, the next target is going to be 9.5. MOB breaks out of a base and they're stepping its way higher. It looks like a $6 stock. Microvast, same type of pattern, but it's had a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-way move to resistance. So careful here. But if it does extend past 286, look for 5. MYO, base, large run, and then a year-long, back and fill. Double, triple top breakout, and then a retest. Looks to me like an $8.5 stock. NANX tech trader swing when it popped and pulled back. Went from under $1.65 all the way up to $2.90 and backed off. I've talked to my institutional client who bought the heck out of this that day it dropped and is convinced this is double or triple from here. NBIS, spike breakaway, ran up sharply. That was a really good swing for us. It pulled right back to the breakout point and trend line. It's moving again. Looking for a move to test 34.5 and then 38.9. Neon breaks out of a base, spikes up to prior resistance and pulls back on a falling wedge, and pops to resistance and coils and pops again and coils, and then Friday was a breakout. So if Neon extends here, we might see 10, 11, 12 or more. NNE, one of the nuclear energy stocks, double bottom, spiked, falling wedge, pop. It looks to me like a 1, 2, 3, 4 sloppy one, but if they break this, coil to the upside and get the resistance, 36 and low 40s are targets. Nanox, look at the 3 spikes, 1, 2, 3 in the last 60 days, including a reversal off to low. So for me, I'm going to start with a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and say that we're at resistance here. Should we break to this level? My targets are 11 and 12.5. Netgear has been on a tear ever since it had a breakaway gap in September, and it's gone from 15 to 32. And looks to me like targets will be 36 and 45. NTRA, beautiful breakout. We put a swing on it back here. That was in the 80s. It made it to more than doubled to 172. Pull back. There's a nice coil forming here, folks. And it appears to be poised to pop if it didn't pop on Friday. My target's 200. NVCR, breakaway gap, rising channel, more to come, 37 of 42 targets. Navitas in the junior semiconductor group explodes through resistance to get to a triple top and pulls back and backs and fills in here. Right now, this is what I'm seeing. This would be a beautiful, large wedge type pattern. But if it breaks out, we can see 5, 6, 7. This could be another one that runs. NXL, beautiful move. This cheapie went from 59 cents to 436. Sevenfold right there in about a month. And then pull back down, testing that, pull back low, and bounce at resistance here. You see this one get back above 350? Go for it. Your targets then are going to be 440 and 5.5. OKLO, one of my favorites now with Friday's action in that nuclear group, breaking out of a 2.5 month consolidation pattern, which could, if there is a measured move like this, check this out. 23 points from here. That's exactly 40. That's my target. OMER breaks out of a base, forms a wedge, spikes. Hard pullback, retest that breakout point, and then spikes again. Now it's got a mini wedge, and I'm looking for a retest at 14 and then 17, 18. ONDS breaks out of a base, is going vertical, and that's great. Good volume. Friday was exceptional. Taking it to next resistance. The next target is 4.5. OPFI, rising channel, accelerating. Looks to me like a target of 10 and 11. OPRA, short-term base breakout. But you can see a 1, 2, 3, 4 here. Fifth wave target is 23. OUSD broke out on Friday. I'm looking for a run that tests 17. I like the action on this one. PAO, I've been talking about this for a while, broke out. It was a tech trader swing. I believe it's still in force from about 6 3/4, 7 to 11, and now the pullback. I don't think this is done either. My target is 14. PDYN exploded, falling wedge, and exploded again. It may need some time to develop another consolidation, but I think it goes through 15 and runs into the high teens, maybe low 20s. Palantir, monster, and literally in 2 years has gone from 6 to 80 some odd. That's right, 6 to 84. Does it look done to you? It doesn't look done to me. Angle up here, 90 target. Poet, beautiful, similar to layered superfoods. Pop wedge, pop wedge, pop wedge, and then another pop with a retest. May not be done either. 8 3/4 and 11 are my targets for that. Porch breaks out of a base, also stair steps up with wedges, 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 and now a flag. As long as it doesn't break support at about 430, I'm good for a move to retest 6 and then get to 8. PSTG, major breakaway gap pullback. We put a swing on it. Easy stop under 60. Breaks out of the wedge. 70 is your target, maybe 71. Peloton breaks out of a base. Flags, pops here, runs up, and keeps going. New business plan, new CEO. Now the pullback here could be an opportunity, but I would stop under 8, 8 1/4, and targets are 11, 12.5, and 14. QBTS, monster move from under $1 to 12, almost 11.40. It's pulled back a little bit here. I think it's an ascending bull wedge. It looks to me like the kind of stock, and if it gets through that, it might run to the high teens. QUBT, tech trader swing, beautiful pop wedge, pop coil, and then another pop coil. It doesn't look done yet. You get this one through the 27 range, you're looking at low 30s, high 30s, maybe low 40s. This is a big one. Keep an eye on this. Quick, the swing for us here, it worked out well, then it collapsed on the head and shoulders, but it broke out again. It's at resistance here. If it gets above last week's high, above 1336, 16 is my target. QURE with a massive gap, taking it from about 7.5 to 13. Since then, a rising tight bull coil usually will materialize to the upside, and a 22 and 29 targets. Roblox, beautiful rising channel coming out of a big base here and flagging, then popped on Friday. I'm looking for an extension to 65. Red Cat, nice rising channel, pulled down, popped again, pulled down, popped again. Currently wedging in here, extension target 17. RDW, similar, at some key overhead resistance near the all-time high. But boy, it's a powerful chart. And if it isn't done yet, it could spike into the low to mid-20s. Rigetti just gone vertical, really done very well the last 5 weeks, having gone from 129 to about almost 20, 129 to 2071. So we went up 9-10 fold on this one. It doesn't look done yet. It could accelerate into the mid-20s, even low 30s. Strong chart. Rivian, big day Friday on a strong report, jumped 319 to 24%. A mere 128 million shares breaking out across resistance. Your extension targets are 17.5 and 19. Rocket Lab, what a chart. Breaks out of a base and forms this little flag. That's when I noticed it. Flagged again, and again, and then ran hard. Now it's in another larger flag with a breakout telling me mid-30s, low to mid-40s may be doable. RSI, Rush Street Interactive breaking out of a rounding base and stair-stepping its way higher, has room to run into the 20 range. Targets are 16 and 20. SEI breaks out of a long multi-year base, 5-year base, and just keeps running. Now consolidating in a coil, it doesn't look done yet, does it? If this breaks out of this pattern, no telling how far they could take this one. Targeting high 30s, low 40s. Serve in the robotics group had a big day Friday, popping 426 or 29% on 20 million shares. I think that's a breakout. I think it should go further. Looking for a retest of the all-time high at 24. That might happen as quickly as Monday, and then eventually 27.8. SKYT exploded. This is another junior semiconductor. It's basically just a 3-day run that took it from 9 to 19. This beautiful wedge that's formed here is a setup for more. My target is 21 to 24. SMR in the nuclear energy group has had multiple waves up. Acts like it wants to pop out. Wait for this one above 22.35. I would look for 27.30 and then low to mid 30s. SMTC platforming. This is a semiconductor stock. Multiple waves up. It looks to me like your next target has to be mid and high 70s. SOUN breaks out of a base, coils, pops, wedges. It's doing another one. Get this one to 25 and you're on the way to 32, 38. Really good looking chart as well. SPCB went vertical last week from 3 and change to 11. Backed off Friday but held. If it gets to 11, this could be 14 or 15. Spire, if you're getting hammered in August, did a 1, 2, 3, 4. Fifth wave may be on the way. If it gets to 16.5, I look for 19 and 22. SRAD, nice base, breakaway gap, run up and flag, and now popping again. Looking at the longer term picture, immediate target has to be about 19.5 and then 22. SFRM breaks out of a base, retests the moving average, pops in. It's got a little wedge forming in here that looks awfully juicy, folks. Keep your eye on this one for a move to 8.25, 10, and 12. Talk TALK in a terrific rising channel as well, coming off key support. I'm looking for a retest of 3 3/4, 4, and then 4 3/4, 5. Teva, big breakaway gap, run up and pull back, maybe an entry out for a move to 24 and 27. TKNO spiked up in July and has been in a rising channel ever since with a target now of 12 and 15. T-Mobile, beautiful rising channel. Oh, this is on my short list. Sorry about that. I'll get to it later. TPR Tapestry comes out of a nice inverse head and shoulder type base. Breakaway gap, retest. Stair-step your way up with another gap. Now a rising flag, targeting 77. Track. This has been a beautiful rising channel since it was $4 or $5. It's in the mid-20s now. My target's 26 and 29. TRVI breaks out with a breakaway gap and forms a beautiful wedge in here, folks. If it gets through this 4 3/4 range, I'm looking for 6 or near it. Nice chart. TSEM rising channel has been for a year and a half, or let's see, yeah, a little bit more than a year, but a beautiful rising channel. Top tells me 60 might be a target. TSSI, just noticed this one last week, has gone from nowhere, 24 cents. Are you ready? to $14.50. And with this kind of a pattern, it doesn't look done yet. On target 20. TVTX breaks out of a base, runs up hard, and now for 90 days been consolidating. It looks like it could be ready for a pop. Wait for a move above 20 and look for 23, 27, 29. UMAC went vertical from $1.30 to 24 in a month, pulled back hard, and now is in a rising channel again. So to get through this 24 range, we might see high 20s, low 30s. Unify breaks out here and wedges, forms a coil, breaks out and flags, pops a falling wedge, beautiful angle of ascent, rising channel, targeting 31 and 35. Urban Outfitters with a breakaway out of the base and a rising channel, now looking for 61. Neurosite breaks out of a beautiful base that took a couple years to develop, retests it, stair up its way higher. Channel top says 52.3 is your target. Vimeo popped, pulled back. We put a swing on it and then popped again. Now it's back and filled. This can't be a head and shoulders because if it is, you're stopping under 6. But if it does represent a 1, 2, 3, wave 4 wedge, there's your wedge. Then this thing going higher, and look at 8 3/4, 9 1/2 3/4. VNet coming out of a base on Tuesday and Thursday may stair step its way higher. My target 6 3/4. BRNA, a beautiful rising channel all year, really came out here, although it stair stepped its way higher. And now it's been channeling higher. It's long in the tooth, folks. It's gone from 11 to 49. And new all-time highs, but I'm not done with this stock yet until I see a breakdown. Careful though. Victoria's Secret breaks out of a base here, runs up to high 40s and pulls back. Next target 48 and 55. BST is one of my favorite stocks in nuclear energy, if not the leader. Ever since the big run that saw it go from low 20s into the $100 range and then pull back and consolidated in the let's call it 68 to 80 zone. There's your breakout. Sharp run up wedge, sharp run up flag, and now 2-day pop. I'm looking for 185.90. VSTM broke out last week with a big pop and run through resistance into the gap. I'm looking for a gap. I'm looking for a move to 9 and 11 on this one. Keep an eye on Veriston. Boozy went vertical, reversed off of 85 cents back in mid-November and went to over 85 cents to 5.49. Rising channel, if it can continue, to $7 is maybe doable. EcoWave pop, long coil, breakout, wedge, pop, retest. Break out of this consolidation and then pop and retest again. You're on the channel, you're on the moving average. That would be ideal hold there. If it runs again, 17.5 to 22 are targets. WGS, the deck trader swing from way back here when it broke out, has moved from the high teens into the 80 some odd range. But for the last 2 months, it's been consolidating and looks ready to go again. If it does, I'm looking for 102.5, now 140.50. WKEY goes vertical from 180 to 13 and change in a week, pulls back down, does a fib retracement, pops again, retests the high. Then it pulls down and forms a wedge, falling wedge, and tries to pop. Tell you what, this gets to 13.5, 14, it can go into the high teens quickly. RAP woke up last week after an 8 or 9 month base, and we put a swing on it. What it needs to do is get through 225 with energy. You're looking at 285, 3.5, and 4. Warby Parker, beautiful long-term base. Breaks out and continues to run a rising channel. My next target is 40. Sorry, 36 and 40. Looks like a good one. And folks, that's it for the longs. I have some shorts to cover, and then we'll finish it up today. Starting with AVAV. Came down bear flag. That was the tech trader swing short. It popped and it swing short again. or should be. I mean, it looks like a 1, 2, 3, 4. Another wave down takes me to 140. Below that, it can fall apart. Careful with this one, it doesn't look good. Crocs, broke a massive top, came down hard with a breakaway gap, forming a rising bear wedge. Should have break here, 95 and 85 are targets. Delta Airlines with a big run up, bounce off support, but a breakdown. On Friday, this broke. I'm now looking for Delta to go further towards 53, maybe even 48. DHI, the builders, not looking good. The hidden shoulder top broke, consolidation pattern, a long drop, and now bear flag. I don't know where they take this, but it doesn't look good. And my next target is 123, 16 points lower. Guide wire cracks with a breakaway gap to the downside and forms a bear flag. This has to be shorted. It looks terrible, in my opinion. Targets 159, 147, 135. HCA, breakaway gap, little bear consolidation, another one there. It just keeps dropping. I don't know how far they'll take it, but it's at or just below support. Needs to hold here, or you could see 265. Harrow, topping pattern, breaks down in wedges, bear wedges, and then works its way down before bouncing Friday. It's at resistance. If it goes lower, which I think it might, 30, 26, and 21 targets. IRM, I just noticed this weekend and put it on my list. I'll be putting out a swing short on this one. This massive move, taking it from 53 to 130 some odd, broke down last month and is forming a week and a half long bear flag. My projections are that this makes a move down towards 90 and maybe as low as 82, 83. Leidos, hammered, bear coil. We put a tech trade a short swing at 169. It dropped to 141. It bounced Friday. I think it goes lower, 133 and 120 targets. Lennar, another home builder, just collapsed from a head and shoulders, very similar to DHI. I wouldn't be shorting it here. I wouldn't necessarily cover either, although heavy volume here indicates to cover these half your position. Logitech, large topping pattern with a wedge that looks bearish. It may be breaking down out of it. If it does, your target's at 76 and 72. NVO, head and shoulder top, breakdown, rising bear flag, rolled over hard, got crushed from 113 into the 80 range. Normally I would say cover on that, and maybe so, but because it's gone from 145 down to 80, it may consolidate and even drop lower. Your next target might be mid-70s. STNG, also top broken, a bear flag formed, a hard down. But I don't, again, I wouldn't initiate shorts here, although that looks like a bear flag. The next target's at 41 and 38. T-Mobile, what I noticed last week, broke down, and from the bear flag, it looks very vulnerable to lower levels. My target would be at 2067 and then maybe 195. UFPT breaks a massive top formation and formed a bear wedge. I like this for 205 and maybe 190. UHS, another healthcare stock that broke down and looks lower. Can't tell you how far, but right now support, and it's at support, so your next target would have to be about 162. And finally, there's two more. VRRM, hidden shoulder top, breakdown bear coil. If it breaks, we're headed to 20. Lastly, XYL, topping pattern, breakdown bear flag. That broke down and it's struggling here. My target is 108.9 and then down around 100. Toppy type pattern. Folks, that's it. Long discussion about longs and shorts and technicals. Hopefully this helps you guys for next week and sets you up for a successful week. Have a good one, folks. Make sure you view this a couple times to get in your head where the market's at, where your individual stocks are at. If you don't see something in the webinar that you want some opinion on, you can always private message me, email me, whatever you need to do to get your answers. For now, HB out. Have a great rest of your weekend. Bye, everybody.